I'm going to ask for our next speaker here. It's Joan Ziegler. And we talked about data issues. Well, she's going to give us probably some of the data that we need, actually. So, and in fact, my colleague up at the higher level there, Paul Benko, is with a hospital in Toronto, Canada. And he was telling me about the fact that in their archives, they have patient data going back to, Paul, is it 1880 or 1890? From that time, exactly. And that's like unbelievable treasure troves of data. And I'm hoping to, and it's all been scanned, by the way, digitally. Okay, so that data is going to be available to hopefully all of us. And Joan's going to help give it to us. So Joan, would you please tell us how you're going to do that? And I will help you. Yeah, we'll help you with the AV problem. We've been pretty lucky so far. And
hopefully they'll continue.
They'll continue. Would you like to hold that or just want to just mount it? It's up to you.
Yeah, it could.
Mount it?
I'll hold it,
Yeah,
actually.
hold that.
Yeah.
So remember talking to this little guy there,
Yeah.
and I'll get you hooked
Okay,
up.
stick it in my pocket.
Okay. All right. You might want to just launch it here, and I'll get you good.
Yeah, let me get.
Where's your port that you plugged this in? Right over here on the side?
Oh, there's what I was. Yeah, it's over here.
Oh, it's over there. Okay.
Yeah,
Oh, there it is. Okay.
perfect. Yeah.
Perfect. Let's see if we get some joy here. Okay.
I'm gonna
Almost
enter
there.
my PIN.
Oh yeah, log it there.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, backspace. Actually, yeah,
There we go.
There you go. Yeah. Nope. Try
I'm still
again.
doing that.
She's just logging in. We're not. Oh, there you go. Wow.
Yeah,
Okay, I think we're 10 for
okay.
10 here. Go for it.
And we're up. Great.
Yeah.
Hi. Well, I am Joan Ziegler. Whoops. And really happy to be here with you today. I have had my socks knocked off for the last day and a half seeing all the science. I'm a data guy, so I am not a scientist, but I'm so impressed with everything that we've seen over the last day and a half. And just incredible work, and really in an area that's sort of near and dear to my heart. My dad had a lung aneurysm and died when he was 50, and my mom came from a family of 9 children, all of which died from congestive heart failure, or they had quintuple bypass surgery. So very early on, I learned to talk to my doctor and say, gee, I don't want to get those things, where's the science of how we do this? So, it's just such a pleasure to be here. So I want to talk about data today and how you can rely on data that you have, how you can monetize the data you have, and very importantly, to make sure if you're using LLMs like ChatGPT and Claude, that can be trusted data for you. So summary of the week, we think data is really important, and we're really happy you need data all the time. Where Princess Hyatt started with convergence is where it's at, locally but also globally. What you're doing is really amazing work, and all the other speakers that we've seen. So health data is a really great thing. Unfortunately, it's quite vulnerable. And when you learn that 95% of all identity theft comes from health records, not financial services, not payments, comes from health records, because it's also the most vulnerable data out there. The cost of a healthcare data breach, on average, is twice that of any other kind of data breach at $10 million. For the year of 2024, 276 million records were breached. So not necessarily individual patients, but there were so many breaches that was the outcome. And things are changing. APIs, where we all feel pretty comfortable exchanging our data, pretty much works well, except when it comes to security. So it is the fastest growing attack surface for bad guys, but also 84% of hospitals have had an API attack. So that's pretty scary when you think of how that data is so sensitive. And amazingly, because of the Office of Civil Rights in our country, HHS has been forced to have a breach portal for anything that's been over 500 data or records that have been breached. So it's basically a hall of shame, and it is your civil right to know if your confidential protected health information or any personally identifiable information has been breached. So that seems like a vexing problem, and I really want to work on that, and I'll show you how we do it. Health data is also the most valuable data to bad guys. So what they love to do is find health records, because not every single health system or provider or researchers like you have the same safeguards that financial services and banking has. And in fact, if you're a bad guy, you say, this is the mother lode. I get everything. I have your social. I know you live in an affluent zip code. I have everything I need to perpetrate identity theft. And it can go much further. There is so much exploitable damage that comes from identity theft. Happened to me. I wish it never happens to any of you, because it is a gift that keeps on giving to the bad guys, not us. So there's two outcomes. Either you get that tough email from legal that says, don't ever even think about sharing your data, or you've been breached. And neither of those is acceptable to us. So when we look at HIPAA, even coming from a payments background myself, it's like, boy, everybody knows the word HIPAA, whether you live here or you live abroad. And, it turns out HIPAA was written in 1996. You were probably using a flip phone and not a smartwatch on your wrist like you do today. So the threat vectors have changed significantly. And most of us really rely on encryption to protect our data. Unfortunately, there's a bad guys of Silicon Valley, and they're really good at breaking encryption. So sometimes data gets exposed just because it's data in motion. Many times it is encrypted, and all those data breached records, nearly 300 million, many of them were encrypted. So the other big problem that we see is that AI, if you're using an LLM, is probabilistic. And when looking what that means in the healthcare sector, 50 to 83% of healthcare workers are recognizing that they're seeing a hallucination or they're lying to you. 91% of clinicians in 15 different areas could identify when they got incorrect or an hallucination from AI. And 84% of those physicians said the problem really can be damaging to patients. So you can't publish what you can't verify, and so what we're offering is an alternative that can feed the AI you're using or be proprietary to you. And we do that, I'm only on the problems. I always want to get to the solutions. And the last is that data is not necessarily been able to be monetized by people like you or people in healthcare. There's companies that are really focused on that. And generally, it's not the person who knows how that data should be used and create value around your discoveries. So 3 critical failures. PHI, protected health information, is actually not protected. LLMs hallucinate, and you can't always rely on what they're saying. And your data has a lot of value. And we say, no more. That's what our company was built to do. So in my background, many years ago, I created a technology called dynamic authentication. And if you ever used a tap-to-pay card, what we've been able to do is hide your actual personal card data, but it can also go back to your bank and know it's not Steve's account that it's hitting, but it's your personal account. So we can hide any sensitive data, and we can re-identify that data on demand. Our CTO was head of innovation at Wells Fargo and created Zelle person-to-person payments, and he did a great job with that. And it's the leading person-to-person payment platform, and doing over $1 trillion worth of transactions every year. And what I did in Tap and Pay is still being used, so we can scale at volume. And we thought, boy, we should be we're good friends, let's start a company with our friend Shannon, who's here, and said, let's figure out how to do this for healthcare, because there's a real need. So we have 3 solutions that we can offer. Elav8Secure gives you data with wings that can go anywhere. So if there's no personally identifiable or protected health information, it can travel anywhere, securely, safely. When it comes to LLMs, we do not do probabilistic LLM, ChatGPT, or Claude type AI. We use deterministic AI. And we created a marketplace for people that use our products. So for Elav8Secure, we have data that can move anywhere. We do not, we use encryption, but beyond that, we use that dynamic authentication on every single sensitive field in your data. And so what that means is no bad guy's going to stay all day looking at however many individual fields are out there and try and rip that off. And it's been proven with what we've done in Tap to Pay that it is cryptographically impossible to break the kind of technology we're using. When quantum computing comes along, we're already planning how to improve it, so quantum's not going to make a difference to us. So it's proven, it's known to scale, but most important to you as researchers is it is all done with consent and control. So you, as a data owner or your organization, sets the permissions by which that data can be seen. And I think it's high time that healthcare records should be as secure as your tap-to-pay transactions. For deterministic AI, this might be something you've come across in machine learning. So when you create a deterministic NLP on the front end, so it's natural language, you create basically an ontology around the data that you're using. And then we create a semantic layer, and we only ingest reliable, robust, evidence-based medical data. So we're really different than LLMs that ingest everything under the sun. So every insight is traceable, it is verified, and you can rely on it. And seeing the work you're doing, we know that's really, really important. And better yet, there is, when we're doing machine learning versus Gen AI, which has new updates all the time, the cost of this Elevate Insights deterministic technology is that it needs no retraining, and it's a significantly lower cost of care or cost of compute. And for the marketplace, this is an opportunity. So many people are looking for investments, but also you could have a revenue center. We don't want to just be a cost center to you. We want to make sure that you have an opportunity to monetize your data if you elect to. There's lots of other people selling healthcare data that are not in the position that you are, and we think that's really important. Some companies have no interest in selling their data, but you can create an appreciating asset for yourself, something that adds value to the research you're doing and can be instrumental to investors or big pharma that's investing in your area in health span. Oops. So, yeah, just quickly, the big points. We're different from any other data marketplace. We're PHI-free. We can guarantee it's hallucination-free. And the greatest part is that doing what you're doing every day technically is something you can convert into revenue. And obviously, HIPAA compliant. So we know longitudinal data is really important here. And because data is fragmented, there's many things that are happening that are not longitudinal. And so there's a lot of snippets, a picture here, a picture there, but I think what will be a big advantage in HealthSpan is that capability to see the whole movie, to get that longitudinal data, whether it's from the hospital in Canada that goes back to the 1800s, but more contemporary data. So we'd like you to imagine a world in HealthSpan where data can securely go anywhere you'd like it to go. Anywhere, any researcher, any collaborator. We'd like you to have non-hallucinating AI, evidence-based, so that it is always going to hold up, where you can look specifically not about reasoning, but what is the research that drove a specific actionable insight or conclusion. And that is especially important when you're dealing with complex multi-points of data like you are. You know, all the probabilistic LLMs do great on simpler questions, but as they get more complicated, more likely problems will come up. Even in my own company, you know, we're always writing marketing materials, and I am always surprised that every so often there's something that we don't actually do that they suggest to us. So we like the idea of new revenue streams to you. You know, we look at, you know, what are some simple examples, somebody that has been de-identifying their data over a long period of time as they've gathered it, and then they find the risk of real data being mixed in. So some real PHI is 23%. You know, that's a lot of burnt money and time. The other is any kind of institution that has gone through a data breach, and you know, that's just pain for a long, long time and takes people out of action and burns a lot of money. Not to mention reputational risk, which is sometimes, you know, really the priceless part of what you're doing. And then lastly, building a complex cohort, and you know, you look at the data and you say, something seems a little off here. And that does happen because, same like when I read my own marketing materials, it's like, we never said that, you know. Oftentimes Claude tells me there will be no more data breaches. And I say, no, it's not about the data breaches, it's about the cascading impacts. So we're at an inflection point. Gatherings like this and convergence are really important. You know, we can address those three big problems: protect your PHI, give you factual, deterministic AI, and give you an opportunity to raise some money. So this is where, you know, things happen. And, you know, every story I heard the last couple days, seeing how extraordinary this work has been, and you're really pioneering a field that, as Greg told us early on, hey, that wasn't really a thing, and it's not a thing, but boy, it's a thing in here. So you've been doing what you're supposed to be doing. So find me if you have any questions. It's been my pleasure. I really thank Steve, this whole gang, and everybody who presented. Wow, you're amazing.
Thank you, Joan. That was a great presentation. Yes, I'm going to open up to questions. Yes, this young lady in the front here.
Well, I just wanted, can you quickly show the data bridge? Because I was I was speaking with someone earlier, and they said, "Oh, it's like a data bridge." Can you show that slide? Oh, but take a question. Yes.
Okay, so I'll make you do. Why don't you go look for it? And there's a question up over there. I'm going to walk over there. So you have about 20 seconds. I'm going to take a short walk up here. So yeah, yeah. I'm going to take a long walk. I remember. Who remembers Phil Donahue? Remember, he'd be always running up the stairs and walking down the stairs. So I'm going to do a Phil Donahue here. By the way, only really young people remember him, anyway, sorry. Yeah. Okay, here we go. Remember Phil Donahue, Paul? Yeah? Okay, here we go. What's that? Yeah, oh, yeah, let's not go there. Okay, go ahead, ask your question.
Okay, so my question is,
So we're going to let Joan find the, is it an image? All right. Let's see how the technology gods will be to her. Actually, Joan finished about 18 minutes into her time, so we're giving her another 2 minutes to, you look for it. If it's not too hard to find. If it is, then well, we have to move on a little bit. Okay. Oop. Okay, almost there. Is that it? All right, let's do Joan. Oh, there you go. Oh, that's okay. Okay, let's ask the question, then we'll just move on here. Go ahead, Paul.
okay, hi, Joan. So my question is, typically institutions like healthcare are reactive as opposed to proactive, and that model has been traditionally proliferated throughout the industry. And so I could see that you guys are modeling on a proactive attitude toward that. And so we still do cybersecurity in a reactive methodology. We use that honeypot technology and put a device out into the internet to catch, as you were, fish in the net, and then we analyze them on an individual basis, depending on whether they're a threat or not. So referring to that way of thinking, having changed with what you're expressing, you were saying about the deterministic model. So if you could just discuss a little bit more about an example of the deterministic model and how you execute that.
Thank you. That's a great question. I'm going to just zoom down here. By the way, I'm not sure if anybody noticed, but my back was really hurting me yesterday. I'm much better now, so just if anybody was concerned about me, I'm a lot better, so just let you guys know. Okay, so go ahead and if you could answer that question. Yeah.
So the way a deterministic model works is you first have to look at an LLM, and literally by definition, LLMs are probabilistic AI models. So they are only guessing, and they have gotten really good at guessing, and they're getting better all the time. But unfortunately, they're still guessing. So the key is to start with an ontology that is created around the data subject matter. And it is our intention in our company to create data centers of excellence. And we're very involved with Melissa and Bernie Siegel, who started the HealthSpan Action Coalition. So we would like to do that for you. And we want to become the definitive place for HealthSpan longevity aging data. And we think creating these centers of data excellence will become really important, and they can feed and train probabilistic LLMs, but we think at least they should start where it's all factual, and especially in the area of HealthSpan, where all of us that are my age are looking at what can we do to make sure we are doing the right things and take pride in not having any, and thankfully chronic diseases, and not having to take prescriptions. But there's many other things. Boy, I learned about, I'd like to do more for my knee with what I heard about how you can get all that activity back in your knee. So any other questions?
All right, Greg, here we go.
When I talk to the IT people at UCLA Medical School, and I ask them what exactly is the problem for all the hacks, so my data is all exposed. UCLA's been a major target, particularly the medical school. I said, well, is this because we have a lot of wealthy surgeons and so on, and they want to create, identity theft? No. What they are mining is your clinical trial data, and they're using the clinical trial data to place bets on which drug companies are going to have a successful outcome. So there's an additional thing. I just wanted to bring it up because if you're in the longevity space and you're creating treatments that are novel and different, these guys are going to be mining your clinical trial data to try to short your stock or whatever. So there you go.
Actually, that's such an important point, Greg. Thank you for bringing that up. Yeah, Joan.
So that really is a great point. And actually, in talking to pharma companies, they're very interested if they have multiple formularies that we can tokenize that, or we can tokenize your genetic data that once you get a hold of, people can use in a bad way. But I think corporate espionage, real thing, and we can really help that so that we can hide what's proprietary. And when I said you could sell your data, also you can think about how to keep your data proprietary. So there's things that all of us are willing to share for good ends in what's happening in health span, but that doesn't mean you have to give away your trade secrets. And those are things that we can use this same technology. It can be re-identified later, but we protect it. Like you're in Paris spending many dollars for dinner on the Eiffel Tower.
Thank you. And I'd like to also ask a question too, or maybe just make a statement. I'm not sure how you can interpret this, but basically, hospitals are sitting on a treasure trove of data, and they don't have the resources to monetize it, if that's the correct term. Yes.
100%.
And, right. And so I guess if you would just somehow get to these hospitals and tell them that you're willing to do all the work, and again, the security issue you already figured out. It'd be a win-win situation, and that's typically what we want in business is a win-win situation. I mean, yeah.
And if anyone has a connection to one of those hospitals, Joan would be happy
Sorry,
to
would
have
you
it.
repeat
That's
that?
it.
No, I just want everybody to hear what you said.
If anyone has a connection to a hospital like that, if you know of one and you know people there, Joan would love to know them.
Yeah, and just about the Canadian system, as we know, we have a single-payer socialized medical system up there, but unfortunately all the hospitals are independent entities. So it's not like you go up there and say, hey, province of Ontario, we want to have all your hospitals give us their data. It doesn't work that way. You have to go hospital by hospital by hospital to get that data. It's an unbelievable chore. And actually, if you wouldn't mind, Your Royal Highness, may I ask what the situation is in Saudi Arabia? In other words, if they wanted to get I'm not sure if you know this question. Do you have any insight on that? If data from Saudi hospitals could be used, or is it also? Yeah, sorry.
So regulations are still being upgraded, but data that's in Saudi stays in Saudi up to now. But I think in the near future, we're trying to ensure that we can democratize this data. But I am a true believer that there are innovative tools and technologies that can ensure the safety of this data. But yeah, to answer your question, no, not yet.
Thank you so much. All right. Thank you, Joan. That was there is one more thing. Go ahead, yeah.
I was very impressed with the data that you have. Obviously, you want to keep that within Saudi Arabia. But to the earlier point from Greg, that data point is in the US, only 3% of hospitals, all of them, create any intelligence from their data. So they do it in their day-to-day care path, but that data is longitudinal. Every one of you could use them. And I think seeing that they can have a revenue stream is really important to them. But only 3%, that's totally crazy. That's why we're here.
Thank you so much, Joan. Can you please, big round of applause for Joan Ziegler, please? Thank you. Great talk. Thank you so much. And I'll just say one more thing, and Paul, could you please come up here and get yourself set up while you're getting set up? I just want to make another point that, hospitals are underfunded and they always need money, and a little, something coming in for that as a revenue stream would definitely be helpful. So I think it's really in the hospital's best interest, definitely in the patient's best interest, that they monetize that data. So I just want to do a shout out for that.